There are a lot of different Quincy weapons and types so right now, and I know it's difficult to figure out which one you should actually be using. In this video, I'm gonna rank every single one, and I know some people like to skip to the end of the video. If you do that and you get confused on which weapons which on the tier list, just check the Trello as all the screenshots are from there. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's hit 9K by the end of the month. Let's get right into it. Alright, let's get this started off with the Quincy Muramasa weapon. You get this with the Stream of Ryasu. I'm gonna rank this in A tier. Honestly, for its rarity, in my opinion, it's not that good, and I barely see this in game, especially compared to the other Muramasa weapons. However, in my opinion, crit is still pretty valid. Though nonetheless, it's still a mythical weapon, and the crit also does have hyper armor. Now, I believe before they removed it for a bit, they gave it back. However, nonetheless, the range on the crit and the fact that it's super slow makes it relatively easy to avoid, especially in like a big ass ranked map and in clan wars. But if you're good enough, you can definitely still combo with this. So A tier. The B tier goes to Antithesis. I have no idea how the fuck I pronounce this. However, most people I asked rank this either B tier or C tier. I'm gonna just keep this at low B tier. It's not a terrible weapon, but it's definitely not in the meta anymore. If you want, you could probably make this somewhat viable. However, I still personally would not recommend anybody pick this up. The next thing we got is the Hako Universal, and this is probably the most busted weapon in the entire game right now. I'm pretty sure this update did have it nerfed. However, people still find true combos with this weapon to this day, so this is easily S tier, especially if you guys watch Nano's video. There's a true combo with this in Fear. Honestly, I kind of just hope they completely rework this or remove this from the game. Every single time I've queued this weapon, it's literally the hardest thing to fight, because as soon as they get you in the crit, which is a ranged crit with little to no warning that it's gonna happen, like it's kind of just like, I don't want to say it's instantaneous because I haven't seen them. However, whenever I see this, they're halfway across the map and they just randomly show up right in front of me. Like I have no indication they're coming to me, and it gets you a free Tora reach combo. So S tier, incredibly busted. I know I pronounced that's weird. Now we got Kangdu's Claws, and honestly this is B tier as well in my opinion. Kangdu's Claws used to be really good. Like honestly, these could have been S tier or A tier. However, they did catch some nerfs. The biggest benefit to this is if you're going a high Hako build, you will be getting decent stun. However, I'm pretty sure you don't have time to get any true combos off these anymore. Before, these had true combos, so they were incredibly busted, but you don't get that anymore. So I'm gonna just drop this into the B tier. Next thing we got is the Cutlass. Alright, I'm gonna drop this into B tier as well. It's one of the older weapons. This used to be incredibly busted, and every single time you land a crit, you do get like extra penetration. So honestly, for that, I could rank this a bit higher. However, I feel like the crit's hitbox is really janky. You're never really gonna guard break anybody, and the windup is incredibly long. It also really doesn't do that much damage. There's just so much better options than Cutlass now. This weapon has completely fallen off the meta. Next thing we got is the Quilch, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, this weapon when the game first re-released was incredibly busted. Like it was honestly the best weapon in the entire game for a very good period of time, and every single Quincy Keto clone trooper was on this. However, luckily the devs got wind of this and this got completely gutted. The rope crit move, I don't know what to call it, the line that the crit shoots out, it moves incredibly slowly, and when it does hit somebody, it does guard break, I'm pretty sure. However, the stun lasts for like 2 seconds, so even if you do hit it, you're not really going to be able to get any moves off of this. Even Quincy Keto players probably won't be able to combo extend off this anymore. It's just completely useless. The M1s also suck. The M1 animations are super slow and you're never really going to hit them. This S tier easily. This needs to be gutted to the ground. So basically what this crit does is you fire off some projectiles. If the projectiles hit your opponent, it fires off an unblockable, unparryable beam. The projectiles themselves are blockable, however you're able to move stack them, so basically you just get a true combo starter, and as soon as like the beam you guys see in the screenshot gets summoned, your opponent's completely fucked. You just get a free complete combo starter. Every single time I've been hit by this full crit, they always move stack it and I end up losing half of my HP. Like I genuinely hope this weapon gets gutted, removed from the game, and I hope, like, never mind, I'm not going to continue that sentence, but basically this is brain dead. Please nerf this, like genuinely, please nerf this to the fucking ground. Every single time I've seen a player that has a win rate of over 10 in ranked, it's always a fucking Quincy Keto user who's using this weapon and fucking mashing the S key for fucking 30 seconds straight. Nerf this to the ground, please. Anyways, gun. This honestly I thought was completely trash, but every single person I asked did say, or not every single, but most people did say it was somewhat viable. I still personally wouldn't recommend you guys use this. The aerial crit is decent, the ground crit is meh, and the M1s have a super long windup. The only reason I would ever see anybody run this is the aerial crit in my opinion. Maybe the ground crit, low-key, it depends. But when you're fighting somebody who knows what they're doing, you're never gonna land any of the attacks, so I just personally would not recommend anybody hop on this weapon. Now we got the medic weapon. Alright, I'm gonna rank this in the A tier. This could be S tier just because it's like a medic weapon. For once, obviously this is trash, but as a support weapon, this is incredibly busted. You're literally able to buff your entire team with a pretty decently sized shield. The only downside is obviously it doesn't have any offensive capabilities. However, it's like a support weapon. It doesn't need any offensive capabilities. It does its job well, and honestly speaking, I don't really see any issues with this. I'm gonna just drop this in A tier just because it does everything that it's required to do. If you're doing clan wars and you have this, you're definitely gonna have a very good advantage over the enemy team. Next thing we got is karate, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, I know this did catch some nerfs. I'm pretty sure this is still A tier at the very least. It could be S tier. However, I'm gonna just drop this in A tier because I did hear the nerfs were pretty bad, but it's a Hako weapon. It's obviously always going to be good. I've really seen this in actual ranked. I've seen some videos of it. I think I saw a YouTube video of somebody using it. I did hear when it released, it was incredibly busted, but nobody really used it because everybody was on this shitty ass weapon because it's like 10 times better. I'm not going to lie. However, after the nerfs karate received, I'm not going to lie, it's either B tier or A tier. I'm going to stop saying I'm not going to lie. But basically, it's either A tier or B tier. It's probably low A tier in my opinion. It could be high B tier, but I'm going to just leave this into A tier because it's a Hako weapon. I feel like it's still pretty valid. Next thing we got is the lance. I have not really seen this too much, but every single person I asked either ranked this in A tier or they rank this in the B tier. In my opinion, looking off the, if somebody's really good with it, it's gonna look busted, but if somebody's bad with it, it's gonna look completely trash. So I feel like this is a similar case, and for that reason, all right, anyway, so I had to enter a phone call, but yeah, basically, if you're really good at the game and you're good at using this weapon, I feel like it could be really busted. However, if you don't know what you're doing, it's pretty trash. I'm not gonna lie. For that reason, I'm gonna probably just put this in B tier as I'm really unsure of just about anything about it. I'm not gonna lie. Next thing we got is short. This, in my opinion, if I could rank this purely off of my opinion, I would probably rank this in S tier. However, obviously most people rank this in C to D tier. I would still put this in B tier just because the crit is honestly really nice. I know it's still like just a basic ass red arrow, but for some reason every single time I use it, people just end up blocking and I get a free guard break. I don't know if it's just really fast. I don't know if they just mix it up with like a normal arrow, but it just always hits, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like short, really reliable weapon. If everything in the game got gutted, trust me, you could still rely on short. Next thing we got is Juggerjam's shield. This buffs you if you're balanced. It shoots like the X cross crit. Honestly, this isn't the worst pick in the world. I know for a while it was meta. I don't remember if it got nerfed or if people just stopped using it. However, when I picked it up, I was just like, it wasn't anything special in my opinion. Like I would still just drop this into the B tier just because it's just a basic ass common weapon. The cool part about Quincy common weapons is that most of them are all actually really viable no matter what PvP level you're on. However, I don't think any of these are like specifically busted or anything groundbreaking, if that makes sense. Speaking of groundbreaking and busted, Spalton. This is honestly my favorite weapon. I'm not gonna lie. This is literally just an extra fast fang. The windup is super long. Barely anybody's able to parry this weapon. It's almost a free guard break, I'm not gonna lie. And if you have a speed build, always pick up Spalton, bro. Like no matter what, Spalton needs to be on every single speed build. You're literally just able to combo fast fang into Spalton every single time, and it's basically true. And you can end that off with a waterfall. Most busted weapon in the entire game. I don't even think I need to say much more about this. Like literally, get Spalton. Busted weapon. Don't nerf this. Please don't nerf this. This is my favorite shit in the game. Alright, next thing we got is Reworked. I don't know. So I asked obviously 3 top 50s for this video. 2 people ranked this completely at the bottom. My boy Locks said it's actually really busted. When I used it, I was completely ass. So I feel like it's a similar scenario with the spear where it's like the weapon in of itself is good, but people don't know how to use it properly. Apparently with this shit, you can move stack. The crit obviously does guard break and it has 2 crits. So I feel like I'm gonna drop this into the A tier just because move stacking in this game is honestly busted. And if you know what you're doing with this, I have heard there's also some true combos with this. So I'm gonna drop this into A tier. It could probably be an S tier, real shit. But just like, I don't think anybody really knows what they're doing with this weapon. So I'm gonna have to drop this into A tier. Alright, now we got the Yamato Quincy weapon. I'm not gonna lie, bro. It's a difficult one to rank. I feel like when it originally released, this was obviously the worst Yamato weapon out of all of them. However, the other 2 have received some nerfs and they've completely fallen off of the meta. This one is still about the same, where it's like, it's maybe low A tier or high B tier. Just because it's a mythical weapon, it's difficult to obtain, and I know there are some decent combos you could do with this. I'm gonna put this in A tier. However, in my opinion, it could also really just go down into B tier. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I could see some people picking short over this weapon. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But yeah, next thing we got is the Karen, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, when this dropped, everybody thought this was completely buns, and I think most people still do think this is completely buns. However, if you know what you're doing with this shit, it's incredibly busted. I'm gonna put this into B tier, maybe B A tier. The crit is almost a guaranteed guard break, especially in close range. The biggest problem is everybody nowadays, especially in the game's current meta, are going to be on Hakata or Keto, and what Hakata and Keto players do is run away, so you'll never really have an actual chance to capitalize off this. So if the meta ever changes and close range PvP becomes a thing again, you could easily put this up into A or S tier. However, for now, I'm going to drop this into B tier just because nobody knows what they're doing with this weapon, including me. I'm not going to lie. Like, I've been cooked by this before. That's how I know it's actually really good, and everybody just constantly runs away and spams all their moves. So you're never even gonna have a chance to use this crit. Like, the range isn't anything crazy on it either, I'm not gonna lie. Next thing we got is Warden, and this is a difficult one to rank again. This honestly, like, people either say this is S tier, completely busted, or it's D tier, don't use, completely trash. In my opinion, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I'll probably just put this into the, I want to put this in A tier or B tier. I can't decide on this weapon because I haven't fought in a while, and that usually means people just stop using it because it became trash. However, the once in every 10 matches, whenever I do see this weapon, it goes pretty crazy. I ain't gonna lie, just because of all the true combos with death dealing. Honestly, this is a difficult one to rank. I'm gonna put this into A tier. It's a legendary weapon, and if you use this with death dealing, you're gonna go crazy, I'm not gonna lie. However, nonetheless, I don't think it matters whatsoever because this weapon completely diffs out every other Hakuda move in the entire game, or not move, every single Hakuda weapon in the entire game. Next thing we got, or the final thing we got actually, is the daggers, the twin daggers, and this gets gutted every other update. I think the guts have stopped, but like, this used to be S tier, completely busted, meta breaking, right? Now it's completely D tier or C tier. I would say probably C tier, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's above the gun, but like, after all the nerfs it's received, it's honestly completely atrocious, and I would not recommend anybody pick this weapon up. The windups on everything is super long. You have super long end lag. You can't even combo with this. If you're fighting somebody good, you are not landing a combo with this weapon. I'm not gonna lie, completely trash. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about my tier list. I think it's pretty valid. I won't lie, I haven't played some of these weapons, and some of these weapons I don't really see much often because everybody right now just plays the meta, and that is literally just these three, so it's very difficult to rank the rest of them. However, I think I did a pretty good job. Thanks to all the top 50s who helped. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and yeah.